I'm Angie, and I'm your host today. And today we're going to continue our exploration of creating tones when we dye our fabric. So today we're going to work with complementary colors. In the past, we've worked with gray and we've also worked with black to create different tones of our fabric. But today we're going to use the complementary color. So for the orange, we're going to use mixing blue. So we're using strong orange for our secondary color, and mixing blue is going to be the complementary color. For the violet, we're using grape for our color, and we're using sun yellow for our complementary color. Now this is going to tone down the fabric just like the gray and the black did, but it's going to be in a different way. So let me switch over to the overhead camera and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have my fabric here that's already been pre-soaked in soda ash, and I have my dyes already pre-mixed. I'm gonna put my gloves on and go ahead and get started. Let me know if you have any comments or any questions. Put them in the comments for me. And thanks for being here with me again this week. And I hope you get something out of this little demonstration. So I'm going to put my fabric aside so I don't get dye on it before I want to. Let me kind of straighten it out first, because once I start working with the dye, I'll have dye all over my gloves. This has already been pre-soaked in soda ash, and I already got dye on it. I think it came from the table. So I'm going to use equal parts orange and equal parts blue so that when I compare them to the pieces we did with the black and the gray, I'll be comparing apples to apples. So I'm just going to use 2 tablespoons of orange. And this is the dye that I had left over from last week. There's 1 and 2. My allergies are acting up, and my throat has been really scratchy these last couple of days. So I'll try not to cough in your ear too much, but the more I talk, the worse it gets. So now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of the blue here. And this blue is Mixing Blues from Pro Chemical and Dye Company, which is where I get all of my dyes from. And both of these were mixed to full strength. So 1 tablespoon or 1 teaspoon of dye to 1 cup of water. I only made a half a batch, so it was 1/2 a teaspoon to 1/2 a cup. Okay. So I'll put these containers out of the way. I'm going to stir this up a bit. Try to make sure my hands are clean. Hi, Claude. Good morning. How are you? Thanks for coming. Oh, I owe you a phone call, don't I? I apologize. I've been crazy and I forgot to return your call from the other day. So if you're available, I can call you when we get back or when this is over. So I'm just going to put my resist pieces on, and I'm putting them just low across here. You know what? I think I want to put them at an angle. I want to have a lot of color, so I don't want to cover it up too much. Just going to put that at a slight angle. So Claude, in case you mixed it, I have already mixed up my colors, and I'm using the orange, the strong orange from Pro Chemical and Dye, and mixing blue as the complementary color. Good morning, Virginia. Thank you for coming today. Okay, Claude, I'll give you a call when I'm done. So as I said, I'm working with strong orange and mixing blue. And I've mixed it to equal proportions. So 2 tablespoons of the orange and 2 tablespoons of blue. So that blue is going to really tone down that orange. It's going to take away some of that brightness. And I'm just going to apply it here. So it'll be interesting to see how this comes out, because the orange is very strong as compared to the blue, but you can still see how it has really toned down this blue color or this orange color quite a bit. So I'm just going to apply this just like we normally do. And Claude and Virginia and anyone else who's here, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat for me. Can't forget about this little part over here. Turn this over. So how's the weather there in Florida, ladies? It's gotten hot here really fast. I had to do my walk this morning at 6:30, otherwise it would just be too hot. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that the inside looks good. Okay, that looks good. So this is, like I said, the orange and the mixing blue. So you can see how it's really toned down that, but it's not quite as brown as it was when we mixed in the black. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out after I leave it overnight. So I'm just going to set this aside, and then we'll move on to the yellow. So this is the violet. We're going to be mixing the violet, which is grape from Pro Chemical and Dye. We're going to be mixing that with sun yellow. Now, I always find that the sun yellow doesn't want to dissolve very easily. So one thing I do after I mix it up, I squirt a little bit of alcohol in with it, because alcohol is a solvent and it helps the dye dissolve all the way. But it doesn't hurt the dye at all. So if you have a problem with a particular dye, I know there's several that don't want to dissolve that easily. Just squirt a little bit of just regular rubbing alcohol in with it, and it will take care of that for you. So your allergies are bothering you too, Claude? Mine, since I got back here to Kentucky, mine have just been really, really bad. So I'm going to try to put this on kind of the same way. No big deal if I don't. Oh, Virginia, I hope you don't have any fires. I remember when I moved back to Florida, it was really bad with the wildfires. There were so many restrictions going on. But we don't seem to have fires up here much, but we are headed into tornado season, so we'll have to deal with that. So I'm going to mix 2 tablespoons of this yellow in with the 2 tablespoons of the violet. And this yellow, as compared to the violet, is a very weak dye. So it's going to be interesting to see if the violet totally overwhelms the yellow. Give this a shake. Okay, so there we go. 2 tablespoons of each. And I'll give that a stir. Need to close these up first so I don't spill them. Be interesting to see. Oh, that looks like it's going to be a pretty brown. One thing you can do is, if you want to kind of test out the color before you put it on your fabric, if you have just a plain white paper towel, you can put some of the color on the paper towel to see what it looked like before you put it on your fabric. That gives you a fairly close idea. So I'm just going to apply this. Ooh, I like this. So this is equal parts of the yellow and the violet. And I thought the violet would overtake this yellow a lot more, but this is looking like a pretty nice brown. So let me know if you have any questions. Okay, and I'll just turn this over in a minute. I think I'm gonna like this brown, and it's not probably something I would have thought of you doing, because violet's not one of my favorite colors, and I would have never thought of using it. And that's another reason why I like to experiment, because a lot of people think sometimes experimenting is a waste of materials and time, and I can understand why people might think that. But to me, if you don't take the time to experiment, there's a lot of things you don't find out. To me, I don't remember who I heard say it, but they said experimenting and playing around like this isn't a matter of succeeding or failing or getting a good outcome. It's knowledge, it's data that you can come back to later. Okay, so that's our violet and orange, or violet and sun yellow. And I'm interested to see how that's going to come out. So let me bring the other one up back, and we'll take a look at that and take a look at the differences. So this was the one on the left, is the orange and the black, or the orange and the blue, and that's very dark. But this one is the violet and the yellow, and you can see the brown in this, and this looks like a very, very dull, muddy brown. But we won't really know what we have until we wash it out. So that shall be interesting. Colleen, this is just cotton muslin. This is stuff that I used to get at Joann's that luckily I bought a few bolts of it before they went out of business, but it's just cotton muslin. And another option, and I'll put it here in the chat, is a fabric that I occasionally get from a company called Test Fabric. And it's their cotton broadcloth. It's actually a PDF fabric. And it's Test Fabric 419 cotton broadcloth. It's a really good fabric for dyeing, but when I'm experimenting or just playing, I usually use the muslin because it's a less expensive fabric. So, but for real projects, if I want to do some dyeing, I prefer the cotton broadcloth from Test Fabrics. Test, and that's the name of the company, Test Fabrics. They produce or source a lot of fabrics for artists, so they have very high quality fabrics. And to be honest with you, I know the prices have gone up a bit lately, but if you really compare it to the Joann's, it really wasn't that much more in cost. So you might want to check that out. So, so that's really it for today. These sessions aren't very long, but I just want to walk you through the steps. And what we're going to do next week, I'm going to bring out, well, tomorrow, oh, my nose is running on camera here. That's not a good look. Okay. Um, Tomorrow I'll wash these out and we'll take a look at them. Yeah, do check that out, Colleen. I think you'll like them. And they're really good people. They'll send you samples of all of their cottons if you want. 419, and they have another one, 420. 419 is a tighter weave, and 420 is a looser weave, and it's probably better for clothing if you decide you want to be doing clothing. I like 419 for the art cloth and the art quilts. But a lot of people do complain that 419 is so tight that if they want to do a lot of hand sewing, it's really difficult. So check out 419, 420. Call them. They'll send you samples. You can buy as little as a meter. So they're really good, a really good company. Okay, so I was saying tomorrow I'll wash these out in the morning before we go live, and then we'll take a look at them. And then next week, I think I'm going to do. I think I won't be doing a live stream next week, but what I will do is a pre-recorded video showing all of the pieces that we've done um, with the tones. I'll put it this way, I'll ask you guys, do you want me to do a live stream next week and show you, or should I do a pre-recorded video? Let me know in the chat. I'm open to either one of them. But I want to be able to compare all the different ways that we created tones and show you what they all look like next to each other to give you some options. So let me know if you want live or pre-recorded. I'm open to either one. So um, and if you have any other questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat, and I'll just hang here for a few minutes. I know it takes the chat a little while to catch up, and I don't want to leave before I answer any questions that you might have. So, so I'm gonna pop back over here to the overhead just to give you guys another look at what we have here. So this is the orange and the blue. And this is so dark you can't even really tell that it's brown right now. And this is our violet and our yellow, and you could see that that's brown. So that should be very interesting to see what that's going to look like. So do you guys have a preference for live or pre-recorded? Pre-recorded works for you? Okay, Colleen. Okay. I think I'll do that. I think I kind of need to give my voice a break with these allergies. Um, it's just that the more I talk, I start coughing and everything. So that's it for today, guys. I really appreciate you coming here and joining me on these lives every week. And I will have a pre-recorded video for you next week. And I'll put a post in the community chat so you can hopefully get notified of that. Okay? Thanks for coming, and I hope to see you back in a couple of weeks. Bye, guys.